Well, here's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Donald Trump is guilty. I can't believe it that we finally got to use that cue card. We've had it in storage since 2015. I always knew when the time came, Wally would make a meal of it. For more on this, it's time for the closest look we've ever taken in our lives. I want to start by addressing the pessimists who say, I don't think this conviction will make a difference. Not today! Do you hear me? Not today! You may very well be right, and it might make no difference at all, but you don't get to talk about that today. Moving on, we just got back from a 2-week break, and I just want to say I really enjoyed myself. Spent time with my kids, read some books, did some running, got some fresh air, sunshine, and I'm just kidding. I was inside watching this clip over and over and over again.
Okay, just to let folks know, our producers inside say that the jury is back in the room, that Judge Merchan is back on the bench. From inside, we are starting to hear that there are guilty verdicts. From our producer inside, we're hearing guilty on 1 through 5. 1 through 12, we have now 13, 14 guilty. 15 guilty. You may hear there are a split of folks here who have been protesting on both sides of this case. Some cheer, some boos, as we are now getting the information from the jury. We're up to 18 counts, 19 guilty. Remember, we have 34 here, 20 guilty. We are now 24 counts in, all guilty from inside. This is what we are hearing from our producers, up to 26 guilty. But we are now up to 31 counts guilty out of 34. 32 guilty, also coming in from inside the courtroom. Our producers now saying 33 and 34. They're saying guilty on all 34 charges.
I've watched that clip so many times, I have it on Blu-ray now. My only regret is that the jury didn't have a little more fun with it. Count 30, guilty. Count 31, guilty. Count 32, not guilty, JK, guilty. Now, there were no cameras in the court, but we do have this artist's rendering of Trump's reaction to that verdict. It's just fitting because the last time he made that face was when Stormy spanked him with the Forbes magazine. Time really is a flat circle. Also, it's amazing when the actual news intrudes on Fox's talking points. All day, they're like, this is a sham, this is a witch hunt, this is Soviet Russia. And then the actual news happens, and suddenly they turn into a cross between Walter Cronkite and an auctioneer. I have 32 guilty verdicts. Do I have 33? Show me 33. 33 guilty verdicts. Do I have 34? Looking for 34. 34 sold to the man with the long tie and bad lawyers. Also, can we real quick go back to this?
There are guilty verdicts. From our producer inside, we're hearing guilty on 1 through 5. You may hear there are a split of folks here who have been protesting on both sides of this case. Some cheer, some boos.
I heard only cheers. You sure that boo you heard wasn't just the ghost of Trump's past coming back to haunt him? Boo, I told you this day would come. It's New York. If you heard a random boo, that could have been anything. I got booed on the street for putting ketchup on a hot dog by the guy I bought it from. My son was wearing a T-shirt with Grover from Sesame Street on it. He got booed by a Times Square Elmo. So we're now at a place where the GOP nominee for president is contemplating the possibility of a prison sentence or some alternative, which he claims he's totally fine with.
The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail.
It could.
What that could be.
I'm okay with it.
Oh. Great, because me too. That sounds like maybe that works for everyone. I love how he answered that question like someone just told him they're ordering takeout. Hey, Donald, we're thinking Chinese for lunch. I'm okay with it. Just don't give me a fortune cookie. Last one I got was a real bummer. You know, they're usually not that accurate. By the way, I'm sure he'd love house arrest, an excuse to sit inside all day watching TV, posting insane on social media, and then venturing out of his room to interrupt the occasional Mar-a-Lago wedding with his ankle monitor. If anyone objects, speak now or forever hold your peace. Oops, sorry. That's my ankle monitor. Now, if this strikes you as appropriate comeuppance for all the years Trump spent calling for his political opponents to be jailed, you're not alone. And Trump seems to be aware of that perception, which is why he is now pretending he actually never did that.
You famously said regarding Hillary Clinton, lock her up. You declined to do that as president.
I beat her. It's easier when you win. And they all said lock her up. And I felt, and I could have done it, but I felt it would have been a terrible thing. And then this happened to me. And so I may feel differently about it. I can't tell you, I'm not sure I can answer the question. Hillary Clinton, I didn't say lock her up, but the people would all say lock her up, lock her up.
You didn't say, that's like Bart Simpson claiming he never said cowabunga. Donald Trump saying he never said lock her up brings us to a segment called What's the Play Here? I mean, obviously we have clips that prove he said lock her up, and he knows we have clips that prove he said it, so what's the play here? Is he trying to bait me into showing the clips to make me seem like the bully and him seem like the victim? Or does he think it doesn't matter if we show the clips because no one who believes him is also watching this show? I mean, is there a single living human who's thinking maybe he didn't say lock her up and also I never miss a closer look? What's the play here? Maybe this is his plan to send me into an existential crisis, trying to choose between proving he's lying to an audience who already knows he's lying or not showing the clip, which sure saves us time, but also lets him off the hook. But doing that risks falling into the same track the media continues to fall into at Trump, where the flood of lies, contradictions, and mistruths is so unending that you throw up your hands and say, what does any of it even matter? What's the play here? You know what? It does matter. Might not make a difference, but it does matter. Sometimes you gotta be like a New York jury who knows bullshit when you see it. You never said lock her up? Roll the clips.
These people should be indicted. This was the greatest political crime in the history of our country, and that includes Obama, and it includes Biden.
That Biden family, and others, but that Biden family is corrupt. It's a corrupt family. And with me and my kids, let me tell you, my kids, I'll tell you something, though, and it's very, lock them up. You should lock them up. Lock up the Bidens. Lock up Hillary. Lock them up. So crooked Hillary, wait, crooked, you should lock her up, I'll tell you. Lock her. Lock them all up.
It really is amazing how all of Trump's rally chants have come back to haunt him. Lock her up. Now he's the one who could go to jail, build the wall. If he goes to jail, he'll be surrounded by walls. And even 4 more years is perfect because, and this is true, Trump could face probation or up to 4 years in state prison on each count. So if the judge really wants to have fun, he could do this after each count. 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. So basically, Trump's entire life is now coming back to haunt him. And regardless of how you feel about the case, I think you have to admit it's pretty funny. All this loudmouth dip had to do was not run for president. And there's a good chance he would have gotten away with his life of criminality. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you have a closet full of skeletons, don't announce a campaign for the most closely scrutinized office in the entire world. This is like someone in the witness protection program joining the Real Housewives of New Jersey. They're gonna find you, Donna. Don't go on the show. They're gonna find you. And of course, post-verdict, it's not enough to get a different hairstyle, Donna. Because your voice is the same. Because your voice and your mannerisms are the same, Donna. They're gonna find you. And of course, post-verdict, Trump and the lawless MAGA movement he leads are now unspooling in truly hysterical fashion. Among other things, they've reacted to the verdict by claiming the U.S. is now a fascist hole, that Trump is a political prisoner, and that it's all part of a far-reaching conspiracy to raise taxes and ban cars.
Just 15 minutes after the verdict was announced, Trump's campaign sent out its first post-conviction email. The top of the message read, quote, "I am a political prisoner."
We're living in a fascist state. They want to raise your taxes by 4 times. They want to stop you from having cars.
The Democrats have succeeded in their years-long quest to turn America into a whole country.
How could this happen? This is America. This is democracy. This isn't the Soviet Union. This isn't some banana republic. How can this happen?
I think it may be the undoing of our country.
We are a country that was born of revolution. Revolution is in our DNA. We are fighters, and I hope it's only at the ballot box. Don't get me wrong. But my insides are so angry.
We're going to get back up. We're going to regain our strength, and then we're going to vanquish the evil forces that are destroying this republic.
Vanquish the evil forces? You sound like you're an understudy at a Ren fair. Are you also gonna drink a yard of ale and slay a dragon, you weirdo? A kid just puked at medieval times. Go grab a mop and clean it up, you dork. But my favorite part of Trump's post-verdict press conference was this.
Now, I would have testified. I wanted to testify. The theory is you never testify, because as soon as you testify, anybody, if it were George Washington, don't testify, because they'll get you on something that you said slightly wrong, and then they sue you for perjury.
I couldn't testify because if I lied, that's perjury. It's not the ironclad defense he thinks it is. My lawyer said, can you take the stand without lying? And I said, of course, just one question, can I lie? And they said, no. That's perjury. And I said, okay, got it. One more question. What's perjury? And they said, it's when you lie under oath. And I said, I knew that. And they said, did you really know that? And I said, no, I was lying again. And they said, do you think you could tell the truth on the stand? And I said, absolutely. And they said, was that a lie? And I said, what do you think? And they said, yes. And I said, now you're getting it. So Trump blamed Joe Biden for his guilty verdict, which is obviously insane. And Biden, as you may have seen, had a memorable reaction to that claim.
Mr. President, can you tell us, sir, Donald Trump refers to himself as a political prisoner and blames you directly. What's your response to that, sir? Do you think the conviction will have an impact on the campaign?
Man, I am excited. I am excited for this White House office reboot. Although we do need to get that head turn a little faster, Joe. More Jim Halpert, less Tin Man who's never been oiled. If the mics had been closer, it would have sounded like this. Also, first time I heard it, so that's what Dramatic Chipmunk would have looked like if the chipmunk was also 80. With all of that said, I've given it a lot of thought, and I think Trump and his goons are right. This is just like Soviet Russia. He was tried in open court in full view of the public with lawyers and due process and a jury of his peers, a thing that famously happened all the time in Soviet Russia. Seriously, I mean, can you imagine an entire political party demanding in unison the investigation and imprisonment of a political rival or his family?
Are we going to go into Hunter Biden's laptop?
FBI subpoenaed Hunter Biden's laptop.
There's a lot in that laptop.
Regarding Hunter Biden's laptop.
Hunter Biden's laptop.
Hunter Biden's laptop.
Hunter Biden's laptop.
Hunter Biden laptop. Hunter Biden laptop. Hunter Biden laptop.
Hunter Biden laptop.
Hunter Biden laptop.
The laptop from hell, right?
Last week, I was on CNN.com reading testimony from a porn star explaining in detail how you're bad at sex, the thing that actually happened. Thanks to you, they're all laptops from hell now. In fact, Hunter Biden's trial on federal gun charges is underway as we speak, not to mention a sitting Democratic Senator, Robert Menendez, who is also on trial right now for bribery charges. So what can we take away from the GOP's unified defense of Trump other than laugh at their shameless hypocrisy? The people that call themselves the party of law and order, who routinely demand that protesters be thrown in jail or that migrants be rounded up or that their political opponents be investigated, are now suddenly aggrieved when their presidential candidate faces legal consequences for his actions. Their supposed belief in law and order is obviously not sincere. They see laws not as constraints on power, but as tools of power to be wielded against the powerless and for the powerful. That's the classic trademark of authoritarianism. Who knows if this will hurt Trump politically? I have no idea, but if it does...
I'm okay with it.
This has been A Closer Look.